Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on and do the fourth and final in this year's series of Oktoberfest beer reviews, and this is actually my first visit to this brewery. I've never tried one of their beers before, so we're going to go to Löwenbräu München, literally Lion's Brew, and we're having a taste of their Oktoberfest beer today, which as you may have guessed is an Oktoberfest Marzen. It comes in at 6.1% and it's supposed to be pretty damn good. It had a rating of about 90 on Rate Beer, and as I always say, that site very rarely leads you wrong when it comes to beer. But the other Oktoberfest ones I've reviewed for you this year are the Paulaner, the Spaten and the Hofbräu. This is the fourth one here, the Löwenbräu, and hopefully next year I can manage to do the Augustiner and the Hacker, and that makes up all 6 of the Munich Oktoberfest beers. I'd really like to try those 2 as well, but unfortunately I couldn't get them here in Sweden, so fingers crossed for next year. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual website links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Löwenbräu. As I say, very first time I'm trying one of their beers, and there's all the usual social media things down there, the Facebook, the Twitter and the Untappd. Please follow me on there, your support would be much appreciated. To my German viewers, I do apologise if any of the pronunciations aren't quite right. I do speak German to some degree, but sometimes the pronunciation isn't quite right, but please do let me know some other German beers you'd like me to have a look at. I really love German beer, so I will try my best to get a hold of the ones you suggest, and there's a lot of German beers already reviewed on the channel, so do go and search for the German beers that you're interested in, because I may have done them. But anyway, to tell you about Löwenbräu, so the exact foundation date of this brewery isn't known. Some sources have cited 1383 as the founding year, however 1524 was when Georg Schnatter was brewing beer in Löwengrube number 17 in Munich, which is thought to have been the first reference to the lion, or the Löwe as it is in German. But the first official record of the name Löwenbräu in Munich was in 1746 in the official brewer's registry of the city. But within the brewery there was a painting depicting the story of Daniel and the lion from the Bible, and this is why the name Löwenbräu was actually selected for the brewery. So in 1818 the brewery was purchased by Georg Brey, who actually established the brewery as one of the premier breweries within Munich. And in 1827 the brewery moved to a bigger premises at Nymphenburger Strasse in the Wiesenfeld district of Munich. So in 1848 the brewery received license to brew bock beers, and it was actually one of the pioneers in this field, and then Georg's son Ludwig took over the running of the brewery in 1851. But by 1864 the brewery had garnered 25% market share of all beer sales in Munich, and this actually made them the largest brewery in the city. So the Brey family sold the brewery in 1872, and then it became a publicly traded company, and the brewery underwent modernisation thereafter. So 1883 saw the company open the famous Löwenbräu Keller at Steigelmeier Platz near the brewery, and in 1886 they registered the famous lion as a trademark. And the brewery actually won the grand prize in Paris at the World Expedition for their beer in 1900, and by 1912 they were producing 1 million hectolitres of beer per year. And a lot of German breweries actually cite this, and this must be the kind of landmark where a German brewery can really consider themselves as big, because I've seen a lot of breweries actually mention that figure. So 1 million hectolitres must be a real landmark in German brewing culture. But as is the case with many breweries in Germany, the brewery had a shortage of material to contend with, and the restrictions on their brewing during the First World War, meaning that they produced Dün beer, and this is a lower ABV beer, and by the end of the war they were actually brewing at only 50% of the brewery's total capacity. So that is the case with many breweries during the First World War. But the brewery grew their export market in the 1920s, and in 1921 the Unionsbrauerei Schölein merged with Löwenbräu, and then Hermann Schölein became the company director, and the brewery premiered their Triumphator Bock beer in 1925, and they also introduced their Weiss beers 2 years later in 1927. The following year in 1928 they also became the first Munich brewery to brew over 1 million hectolitres per year, and they were the official provider for the Zeppelins as well, which is quite an interesting point. So the Schölein family were Jewish, and unfortunately they had to flee to the USA for obvious reasons in 1936, and the name Löwenbrauerei was adopted officially in 1942 to replace the name Aktienbrauerei zum Löwenbräu. But after the war the Schölein family agreed to the continuation of the brewery, and the first exports began again in 1948, and the brewery has grown steadily ever since. In 1950 they introduced the famous Löwenbräu mechanical line at the Oktoberfest, and it's been a bit of a landmark at the festival ever since. But since the Second World War, the majority shareholder of the brewery has been August von Fink, and he passed the brewery on to his son, who oversaw the merger of the Spaten and Löwenbräu breweries in 1997. Now, the next owner of the brewery was Jobst Kaiser Eichberg, who took control of the brewery in 2003 before they became part of the Interbrew Group, which in turn merged with Ambev to become AB InBev. And since Spaten had already merged with Franziskaner, the company that owns the three beers in Munich is known as the Spaten Franziskaner Löwenbräu Gruppe. So you can see three very famous German beer brands under the one kind of banner, if you like. But Löwenbräu, as you can tell, and as is the case with the other Oktoberfest breweries, are really quite famous in that regard. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys under the Löwenbräu name, I won't list Franziskaner or Spaten because I've done those in other videos, but you get the Original, which is a kind of Munich Helles beer, which is an export one. You have the Münchner Hell, Münchner Dunkel, Triumphator, which is their Bock beer. I would really like to try that one. There's the Alcohol-Frei, Urtyp, the Pils, Dunkelweiss, Weisshell, the Radler beer, which is a kind of shandy, and then you have this guy here, which is the Oktoberfest beer. So yeah, that's everything you need to know about Löwenbräu. A little bit of a longer history for that one, but since it was my first time visiting the brewery, I thought it was worthwhile doing. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we crank it open. Very much looking forward to doing this beer. I really have quite enjoyed the Oktoberfest beers I've reviewed for you this year. So as you can see, there's the very pretty German girl with the nice big German beer steins there, and you can see the Löwenbräu lion in the background there. This is the typical kind of Bavarian style clothing there, and you can see, I forget whether that's the Bavarian colours on this flag here or whether it's the Munich city colours. I never remember that, but I really like the old kind of German style and Bavarian style checkered flags and things. It's a really kind of big mark of German culture, and I do like that there, and I'm just trying to find it. But as you can maybe see on the foil part, I'm not sure how well you can see it, you can see the Löwenbräu lion right here, and that's the one I was talking about that in 1896 they trademarked. And oddly enough, it isn't actually on the label. The blue and the dark blue writing, of course, is the main Löwenbräu one that you are going to recognise. But yeah, very nicely presented, very German looking, and as I told you at the start of the video, this gold sort of foily thing on the top is for the export version of this beer. It is the same beer, unlike I think it was with Spaten. The Spaten does have two different beers, but they do have the ones in Germany have a sort of blue little label at the top. But without further ado then, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting here. So, not sure if you're able to see that, but as you can see a little bit, there is a bit of a smoky opening there. Unfortunately, I don't have a German tankard. Really, you should drink this beer out of a tankard. A lot of Germans say that it makes a big impact on the flavour. Personally, I don't see it. It does. The type of glass you drink, if you drink it out of a tankard, it encourages you to take a sort of bigger gulp of it, if you like. So it kind of distributes the beer around your mouth a little bit differently, but it doesn't affect the flavour really. The flavour is more of about the chemicals in the beer, and of course the glass doesn't really change that. It's more just the way the flavours are distributed across the mouth. But a lot of Germans are very insistent on that, about what glass you drink out of. But I find that these tulip glasses are the best all-round glass that you get. It doesn't really matter on the type of beer that you drink either. But as you can see with this one, it's poured a really nice clear kind of golden straw colour. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see there is plenty of transparency there. There was about a quarter finger of a frothy white head there. That's just faded away to be a very thin foamy layer. There's a good bit of carbonation visible in this one. There's some big bubbles sticking around the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head. But as was the case with the other Oktoberfest beers, it looks really nice and a very, very inviting and quite refreshing looking beer. So let's have a look at the aroma on this one before we get stuck in. Yeah, so as was the case with the other Oktoberfest beers, it seems to be a bit of a trend with these ones. You've got quite a bit of sweet malt in this, a big bready character, but quite a good bit of kind of grainy and cereal flavour coming out of this one, or grainy and cereal notes I should say. Nice grainy biscuit and some caramel sweetness in there. Big bready malts too, and you can also get the typical German noble hop. But there's a bit of earthiness in there too, and of course, as I say, these German Hallertau and Tecknang hops are in this. Probably the Hallertau ones actually, because Hallertau is in Bavaria. Most likely that they're using Hallertau hops in this beer, but you can really pick that out there. The earthiness, I think, is the most prominent component of the hoppy character in this beer, and it mixes quite well with the nice malty, biscuity caramel flavours that you're getting from this one. But yeah, really nice smelling beer, very typical for an Oktoberfest beer. These ones are nowhere near as complex as some of the other beers you'll get. The Munich Helles beers can have some really interesting notes from the hops, but this one, the Oktoberfest beers tend to be quite plain in their aroma, but they do taste very nice. So as I say, with this one, a nice bready malt base, a little bit of caramel sweetness, some biscuity grainy character, but yeah, some sort of florally aromatic hops on top of there with a little bit of earthiness, typical German noble hop aroma. But without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. So this is the Oktoberfest beer from Löwenbräu, one of the 6 Oktoberfest breweries in Munich. Slange, Prost as they would say in Munich. Yeah, as is the case with the other ones, nice and malty, really quite nice and drinkable this. So as I always say, just sugar the beer across your tongue and let your whole palate adjust to it. This one I'm finding is actually a bit less hoppy than the other ones that I've come across. This is a bit more malt forward than the other Oktoberfest beers I reviewed for you. Yeah, a lot of sweet malty character in this one. So you've got a nice light bready character that just blankets the middle of the tongue there. On top of that, there's a sort of slightly biscuity, syrupy character in there. You can just feel that kind of spreading from the middle of your tongue and just pushing its way out. But there is a bit of a kind of richer caramel and slightly honey flavour in this beer as well. We'll get the rest of it out and into the glass. This is really nice, this. So one thing I really like about German beers, and particularly the lighter ones, is just the level of drinkability that you get out of them. I love it. Probably my favourite style of German beer, apart from the Rauch beer, is the Munich Helles. And these beers remind me a lot of that, but they are obviously a different style. These are a bit lighter than the Helles. The Helles, for me, is always a bit more bready, but this is a really nice, drinkable beer, this. And it's a bit boozier as well, which is obviously nice. Yeah. Love this style of beer. So yeah, nice big bready malt base in the middle of your tongue there, some sort of biscuity, sweet, grainy character, and on top of that, there's a sort of more widespread honey flavour to this beer. It's really nicely done actually. It's very easy drinking this. If you move out towards the edge of your tongue, that's where you're getting these nice German noble hop characters. So at the back of the palate, maybe just a little kind of smooth earthiness, but as you move further forward, there's a lot of kind of floral aromatic character, and it's actually quite dry on the kind of front sides of the tongue there, but as you start to go round the front curve of the palate, it's a nice smooth grassy flavour in there. It's really enjoyable beer, this one. As I say, a bit more malt forward in my opinion than the other Oktoberfest beers that I've tried for you. But yeah, really nice, this one. I have to admit, really do quite like it. Awesome beer. I would, if you like Oktoberfest, you're going to enjoy this beer. I have to actually give a big shout out in this one to my German flatmate as well, who actually helped me translate all of the history of this brewery. And he was actually telling me that the Oktoberfest beers you'll get in Munich do come in at 10% rather than the 6% that they put in the bottle. So if you go to Oktoberfest and you drink these beers, you are going to get pretty drunks, which is always a good thing, and you're going to enjoy a hell of a lot of nice beer. This is really enjoyable, this. But to tell you about the mouthfeel of this one, I would say quite light-bodied, smooth carbonation, which is typical for German beer, and there's a good balance between the malty flavours and the hoppiness. As I said, this beer is more malt forward for me. It's got a good malty sweetness that just blankets the middle of your tongue, but around the outsides of the palate, you're starting to get the nice kind of hoppy characters, and it's a little bit dry, but at the back of the palate, it's quite smooth. As I say, the dryness comes around the kind of front sides of the tongue, and then as you go around the front curve of your palate, that's where the smoother character is. So maybe just a little bit of citrus in this one, but not very much. Just if you feel a little oily bubble behind the front of your tongue, there's maybe a little bit of citrus in there. But for me, this beer is more about the typical bready German malts and the nice noble German hops, and it has all of that. And you can pick up the fact, if you compare this to a Pils beer or a regular German Helles, you will notice in the malt base that this one is a little bit boozier, but in comparison with the other ones, I think the Löwenbräu beer actually masks that a little bit better. So overall, it's a really nice beer, and it kind of typifies the sort of German approach to beer. Really nice, easy drinking beers with a good bit of flavour, nice balance between the malts, and nice balance with the hops as well. So overall, really good beer. Wouldn't hesitate to drink it again when Oktoberfest season comes. do go and check out Löwenbräu, and hopefully I can review some more of their beers as well. I really would recommend that you try these guys. I've heard some good things, but as I say, this was my very first review from them, and I'm certainly impressed, so I will definitely review some more of their beers. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been cool to do these 4 Oktoberfest beers that I've done for you. I also did one from Löwenbräu, but that's not a Munich Oktoberfest beer. So hopefully I can do the Augustiner one and the Hacker-Pschorr for you next year, and I will definitely be drinking a few of these just for fun over the next Oktoberfest, I'm sure. Really interesting beer, this. So yeah, please let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before. Always interested to hear from you. As I said, German viewers, please let me know some other German beers you'd like me to have a look at. Always interesting to try new things, especially from Germany, because I know the beer's good. I thank you for watching my beer reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and support the social media things. I thank you for watching once again, and there will be a lot of Swedish and Danish reviews for you coming up, so do stay tuned for those. Slanja just now.